Hi, I'm Wayne Tuttle, and welcome to another edition of Chasing Legends. Welcome back to Chasing Legends. I'm Wayne Tuttle, your host once again. Please visit our website at www.legendthesuperstitionmountains.com for all kinds of links and all kinds of other material. Hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. We go through all our comments. There's no algorithm, there's no AI there. We go through them and see what you have to say and reply where it's needed. And we try to help all you guys out and answer your questions. Please also visit us on our lives on Fridays at 4 p.m. Arizona time. I'm there live and I answer questions. So there you go. If I do have answers, and so far I haven't had to make a lot of stuff up. Maybe. So there you go. But let's get into today's story. Today's story is very interesting because it started out, I have the collections I have, various treasure hunters and writers and authors. And being the custodian of those things, I always am going through looking for something interesting, and I'll pull a few files. And I pulled this file, and it says, you see here, it says Bank of New Mexico. And I'm thinking, man, might be a robbery. It could be a bank robbery. Could be something to do with the stagecoach. It could have something to do with the Spanish. So I thought, sounds like a cool thing. Folder's got some little weight to it. And I start to look through it, and it has a lot of maps and stuff in it, topographical maps and different stuff. And I'm thinking, oh, this is a pretty cool one. So I start taking it apart, and before I read the story, which it also has one of the rough drafts for a magazine article that was written under an alias by this individual. I'm looking through the material, but I'm looking at the maps because I'm thinking, oh, that'll be cool. And I'm start to get confused because it's talking about Picacho. And I'm thinking, Picacho, the Picacho I know is in Arizona. Picacho Peak, Picacho, which is south of Casa Grande and Eloy. I'm like, what? That doesn't make sense. And then I'm looking at everything else, and nothing lines up and makes sense. Then I see the Colorado River, which I'm like, that makes very little sense because that's between California and Arizona. So this can't have anything to do with New Mexico. So I start looking at the map, and then I spot Yuma on one of the maps, and I go, okay, well, Winter Haven, which is in California across the river. And I'm looking at it, and then I see Picacho Mine, and I think, oh, maybe it's the Picacho Mine story. And it's in the Chocolate Mountains, which is in California, which can be confusing because the Picacho Mine and the Chocolate Mountains are about 25 miles north of Yuma. But the Colorado River does this thing where it comes down, goes out, comes down, it goes around, and comes back down, and Yuma's underneath that lower spot. So 20 miles north of Yuma is across the river in California. So there's a significant area there where it kind of works its way around. So I'm like, oh, mystery solved. But at this point, I've spent some time going through the maps and stuff, and I go, well, this is not the Bank of New Mexico. It is the Picacho Mine, but I want to see what this story is about. And I read the story, and I learn the history, and I think, well, I think I'm just going to go with that because it's kind of stuck in my craw now. And the best way to get it out is tell the story. Now, this area in the Chocolate Mountains, south of the Colorado River in that general vicinity, was probably first visited by the Spanish. And we've told a number of stories on that western side of Colorado in the California area of some missions and some military outposts and so forth by the Spanish that were very unsuccessful. So it was probably another one of those areas between Yuma and the northern areas that just never fully established the mines, and they had to leave there because of the depredations of the various indigenous people. I think the Mojaves were up in there, and they were having all kinds of problems. But sometime in the late 1850s, around 1860, a man named Jose Mendival comes out through there. And he finds gold in this area, the Chocolate Mountains. And he starts going through, and it's basically a dry washing process. Of course, once he finds it, other people come out. Now, there's no water located in that area, really. No wells or anything. Very dry. It's about 18-25 miles north to the Colorado before you're able to access water. So they have to dry wash. They use blankets, and they're, making a mess, but they're finding pretty good gold. As this continues on, the gold that's on the surface and that they're placering, that success starts to dissipate and they begin tunneling. Well, Mendeville looks at it all and realizes there's no water. The supply routes and lanes are really difficult and all. People are coming in, and he realizes his claims have value. So he sells all his claims. He takes the money and establishes a small town along the Colorado River called Rio. It stays as Rio for a short time, and then he changes the name to Mendeville, his own name. And Jose Mendeville builds a little town there that has a port for the steamboats that come up and down the Colorado River, can transport people to and from Yuma and other areas. It also can transport supplies in. He has a general store and another other things. A bank is established, and so he does quite well off of this, realizing in the future of what's about to take place. The mine is very successful up until about 1900, but there's all kinds of problems with the mine. One is obviously the water supply. Manpower is a problem, and there's a lot of mishaps and injuries and deaths on the site. This is area that's worked in alluvial. It's a very sedimentary rock, so it's not a very stable mining tunnel system. So all the associated problems, by 1900, well, there's still pretty good gold there. All the problems outweigh the profit. So everything starts to dry up, but until the 1920s, people still keep thinking they have a solution and keep coming in trying to establish something. But after that time period, by the 1930s and 40s, it's basically everything's almost abandoned. Now, there are owners, the claim owners. There are people that have their claims and their rights to the area, and there's a caretaker established there to kind of look over those properties. And he has a small house down towards the base of the hill and the area, and the mines are up above and all that. And he watches over the area, and various people come in and work some of their old claims and stuff. This is the established area. Now, this is where this story comes into play. Three men up from Yuma come up, and they realize there's still probably pretty gold in these tunnels. And though you have the caretaker, it's a pretty wide spread out area. What if we find a way to circumvent, go back in, and find a couple of these areas, access to these tunnels, and we go in and we start pulling out some gold ourselves. And we'll do this for a period of time, and it's going to be easy pickings, perhaps. So they establish this route. They find a way. They take their truck nearby, a few miles from where they're going to access the tunnels, and they hide the truck. They go up and they put supplies up, and they start working the area. Now, they work this area pretty smart way. One of them's always trying to get ore, get out of the tunnel. The other one is bringing the ore up front and doing the dry washing, and the third one would be the lookout. So if the caretaker, any activity starts to happen in the area, to tell the other guys quiet down and just kind of hide things away. And they kind of keep their camp, everything hidden. This goes very successful, and sometimes of the three, one of them's sleeping, because they also try additionally to keep 24 hours some sort of operation. So whether they're dry washing or pulling ore out or whatnot, there's always somebody working. So everything's going really well, and one of the other things they come up with is one of them occasionally goes down the hill to the truck. They take the truck, and they take the ore they've got, all the gold that they've separated, and they take it down, and they have a spot they cache it at. That way, they believe if the caretaker, someone catches them, they'll have some gold on them, but they can always play it off of, we just came up here, we hadn't been here that long, we're really sorry. Maybe get a slap on the wrist or a little beat down, but they'll get out of there, and the main gold all the work they've done is saved, and they can come back for it. Really good idea. As time goes by, these guys spend a significant amount of time up there. They do occasionally have to resupply, so they all three go down, get in the truck, go back to Yuma, basically resupply, spend a few days relaxing them before they go up. One of the times when they're going to store the ore, one of the guys doesn't come back the next day. Now, it's very interesting, but, and it's a good fact, is that it basically was if you left in the morning, you would be back by the next day, sometime in the morning, afternoon. And that next morning, afternoon, the guy didn't show back up. So the other two guys waited another day and then started to go down to look for things and look around because they started realizing something's up. They finally made up their mind after 4 days, he must have taken off on us. So we need to start breaking camp and get out of here and see what's left of the cache because this guy scooted on us. But then he showed up. And what it was is he said he came back and he was on his way back, but the caretaker had a bunch of people down at his place and they were all over the area. And he did not want anyone to spot him or notice him lingering in the area. So he went back up by the Colorado and stayed out of the area until things settled down. They realized this probably's got to be true, and they would find out later when they would go back to the cache site and find everything still there, is that he was just being safe and that everything was still fine. So they're working, everything's going well, and then eventually the one that's doing the bookkeeping tells them, look, we got about 3,000 ounces down there stored. They just hit another rich source of gold, so they were really excited, but he said, that's 1,000 ounces apiece we're going to split. He said, we're pushing our luck. We probably really need to just get out of here, take that, go off. And if we want to make a future trip or something, that's fine, but we need to just get ourselves out of here for a time being. And they all agree, but they figure we're getting some really good gold here, so let's just, we're picking up, ounces every day. Let's just keep, it's one more day, a few more ounces, one more day. Well, they're doing this. One of the men is out on watch out in front of the adit, and he's sitting there and he's having a cigarette. And he hears what he thinks is thunder. And he's looking around. There's some clouds, but he's thinking, man, they're always worried about rain in the area. They don't try not to work in the tunnel if there's heavy rains. They stay towards the opening, but they don't want to work in case there's a collapse. And with the thunder, he feels like a sudden breeze, but the breeze stops, and he finds it all odd. And he's sitting there, and then he kind of gets a bad feeling. He turns around, looks at the adit, and has a bad feeling that the noise and the breeze came from the adit. He goes back inside, back to where the other guys were working. The entire area had collapsed. What had happened in the sedimentary rock and the alluvial and everything they were working was they were making it more and more and more unstable because they weren't shoring anything up. They were just going wherever the richest source. Well, this area they were working in was holding things up, and not realizing what they were doing, they created the collapse. Guy totally panics, realizes these guys are buried in there, probably dead, but he runs down to the caretaker's place and starts banging on the door, trying to get someone to come up and help him. He doesn't care whatever else, he's worried about his friends. But the caretaker's not there that day. So he looks around, doesn't know what to do, so he runs back up, and he's looking around and trying to figure out what's going on. Starts trying to go through the rubble, and after hours of doing that, he realizes it's useless. There's no way he'll dig them out. There's no way he can get help. He realizes what they're doing is illegal. He's the only survivor. Going to the sheriff's department, whatever, he's got a lot of questions he's going to have to answer concerning all this, and he decides it's probably best for him just to get out of there. I would take it that none of them had family or anyone to be concerned with. So he grabs what gold they have there that they were getting ready to store, take off with at the end, which was around 100 ounces. So they're doing really well there at the end. So he grabs the 100 ounces because they've been doing really well. There's 100 ounces of gold there. So he figures that's going to get him by, no problems or whatever. He just wants to get out of the area. Before there's any inquiries, somebody comes up to look. He's completely paranoid, and he's also grief-stricken. So he goes down to get to the truck, and he can't find the truck. He thinks the truck could be missing. It could have been one of the other guys changed the parking space, hit it differently. But he's not able to locate the truck, so he heads out to the road, and he starts going down the road till he's able to hitchhike from another prospector. He gives him a ride. he goes into town, and then he decides, I'm getting out of the area. I do not know what to say, how to address this in any shape or form. I'm going down to Mexico till this all changes. We wouldn't know much about this, but many, many, many years later, he's talking to someone, and he said he felt like there had been some kind of curse because of what occurred, that they were just getting ready to leave. They kind of felt it's our time to leave. And he said everything had gone so well, there'd been no real problems. And yet, he said, we just decided we'll stick around a little longer. And he said that seemed to be it. And he felt, I got out of there with 100 ounces. I was good with that. But he told the individual, he said, I'll kind of tell you, I will let you know, this is where we were working. This is how you get there. And down by the graveyard burial ground, south of there, is the area we stored all this. And it's all together. You don't have to go looking at 50 different spots. It's all put in that same general area, so you should be able to find it. Now, that individual, while telling the story, did not give much on the clues outside of the burial ground graveyard that's south of there, which is kind of known. It's not on all maps, but it's well enough known. People know the general vicinity. Now, was it in the graveyard burial ground? Was it outside of it? Was it just nearby? Nobody knows. Now, I'd been, not realizing this till I did the whole story, there were a ton of topo maps. It looked like a number of people had been searching and gridding off areas and looking at different areas, not even just near there, but all over this area. Now, around 1984, they reopened the mine. The mine opened and operated for a period of time, then it closed. I've heard that it's open again, so if you go out there. It's now basically more of an open pit. Now, if you drive the road, there is a marker, a memorial marker of the mine, of the Picacho mine, off the side of the road, and you can see the mining works off in the distance there beside it. Obviously, I've never heard a report, and I looked to see if there was any bodies recovered when they were doing it. They may not have even gone into that section and opened it up, or the pit may not have encroached upon that. Who knows? But if you go down there, there's also another thing to be aware of. There's a song called Picacho Road, which you take south from the Salt River to there. It takes 2 to 3 hours to drive this road, which is about 18 to 20 miles long. And it starts with, I hate this road, I hate this road. I guess the road's not necessarily rough, it's just a miserable road. Summertime temperatures are up between 115 and 120 constantly. It never seems to cool down. It's a miserable place, a miserable road, and it feels like you're taking forever to get there. So there was even a song written about the road going to the mine and the miserable conditions out there. So there's the story of the Picacho mine and the cache that is somewhere nearby. It's a big wide open area. You can find it. Chocolate Mountains, the Picacho mine, both marked the road and the road going south, and you'll be able to figure out where the graveyard burial grounds are in the area. So somewhere in that area where they would find the trucks. So you'd have to, while we don't know where exact mine site, you can take the general area, a 3-mile hike to the truck to be able to load up, which would take considerable time, that you're carrying gold, a lot of ore, and then out to somewhere else where you would bury it. Now, is it buried? None of it is ever very clearly told. If the gentleman was told, he never gave that information. Is it cached into somewhere where it's just covered up? Or is there something, is it buried in the ground? And each time they were digging holes and burying it in a general vicinity of area. Do not know. There's no other clues that I've been able to find. I did not find many articles or much other information on it, which I was surprised. I kind of went through the internet and stuff, and even the general history of the Picacho mine, and didn't find that story. But to find at least 30 different topographical maps from various individuals that had searched and their areas of search, and the work they'd done out there, tells me there had to be something very real. There's something hanging on that story. Very real. So 3,000 ounces of gold, that'll set you up pretty good today. And even if you take a partner, it'll still set you up pretty good. Maybe find that song, Picacho Road, download it to your vehicle, play it over and over and loop it. Go out, take a metal detector and look around and see if you get to be the lucky one that kind of finds it. There you go. I hope everybody enjoyed that story. It's kind of a treasure story. It's kind of a mining story. It's not a lost mine, and it's definitely not in New Mexico. It does not involve a bank, which the folder will now get a new label. But there's another one in the books out in the California side of the Colorado River, just south of it, where it makes that big bend and hook. So I hope you enjoyed the story. I hope you have a great rest of the week. I hope you join us for live. And I hope all of you will join us October 25th, 26th, 27th at the Dutch Hunter Rendezvous this year in 2024. It's the 20th anniversary. It's kind of a big deal to all us. Come out, sit around the campfires, enjoy the stories, enjoy the talks, enjoy what we have to offer and so forth. We will be probably doing an episode talking about the rendezvous as we get close into it, which is less than 2 months away. So hope to see everybody there. If I don't, we'll have an update on the rendezvous afterwards. So until the next time, always remember, I'm Wayne Tuttle, you're not, and this was Chasing Legends.